not debated in 2016 was the likelihood that we would end up leaving the EU with no deal.
Then, of course, there are those who will argue that we could pull out of the EU and fall back on the World Trade Organization rules.
There's relying on our existing membership of the World Trade Organization, where, like Russia or Brazil, you put nothing into the EU but get nothing out in terms of preferential access. That's the WTO model.
Let's look for a moment now at the default option, the World Trade Organization rules, which is where we will end up if we leave the EU without a deal agreed.
And if we fail to do that, we would then have to fall back on World Trade Organization terms.
Okay, you activate Article 50.
You're going to activate that immediately?
That is what, if British people vote to leave, that's what we should do.
On the 28th of June, you will activate it at the European Council.
Have to do. What would happen next? You have 2 years to negotiate. At the end of those 2 years, you are out, and you have to operate under World Trade Organization rules.
And at the end of that 2 years, there is no guarantee that agreement will have been reached, but our exit would be automatic.
If we vote to leave, the clock starts ticking on 2 years. If we haven't negotiated a new trading arrangement with the European Union in 2 years, and you said this yourself, Nigel, we revert to what are called World Trade Organization terms.
What would happen if that deal to leave wasn't done within 2 years? Our current access to the single market would cease immediately after 2 years were up. If we vote to leave, we are facing potentially a decade of uncertainty. 2 years to get out of the European Union, 7 years to negotiate a trade deal with the European Union.
And at the end of 2 years, there is no guarantee at all that we would have reached agreement, but our exit would be automatic.
A free trade agreement or WTO rules, all of these are doable, and people who want to leave the EU should decide which they favour.
For anyone who wants to ensure a clean break with the EU, the WTO is the only honest model.
The electorate will have spoken. We will have to invoke Article 50. Once you invoke Article 50, it is a one-way street to the exit, which will happen in 2 years with no agreement of any kind at all, if necessary.
And what was not debated in 2016 was the likelihood that we would end up leaving the EU with no deal